Welcome GibbsCAM users. Today we're going to show you colors, how to change your background colors, how to change your tool colors, your vise colors, your part colors, etc. So you can have your custom screen how you want to view it in your shop versus others in your shop that may be using the same PC and they want different colors for their parts. Nobody's always the same, so you can have your own custom colors and not have to worry about somebody else's colors, and they can switch back and forth pretty easy. So what you see here is the default settings here, the background, the part, the stock, etc. And to change those, first we want to go to File and down to Preferences. And the first thing you'll see under Display is the appearance here. This is the display when you're drawing, working with your part and programming. Then you have a different screen that you can have, or the same for OpSim. So if I went to OpSim, you would see it's the same colors there. If I go to Machine Sim, you'll also see that's the same background colors there, and the vise is the same. So let's turn that off. So let's say you want to change the background color for what you like. So the first thing you want to do is, of course, let's just choose the default color right here. Then click on Edit Appearance Settings. What that's going to do is open up this screen here, and you can see the little red arrow pointing to the default you have right now, what you have turned on. So what you want to do is you want to click on Duplicate. What that'll do is it'll duplicate all the settings for this screen right here that you're seeing here. Then you can just give it a name. I'll just call it Tim 3 and just press Enter. Okay, after you've done that, just close this menu. Now go up to the display, click the arrow down, click on your name, whatever you gave it, and you'll see everything's exactly the same there. Okay, now we can go in there and change the background settings. So let's go to Edit Appearance Settings. Now you'll see this little red arrows pointing to your name or whatever you call this file name. And now you can start changing the colors back here. Let me move this off the screen so you can see, because this will change exactly when I change everything here. It'll be dynamic. You'll see it change. So if I want to do, I can do gradient. If I didn't click that, you can see it's all the same color, but a lot of people like gradient, so that's up to you what you want to do. Now you have 5 different settings for, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different settings, the color and then the gradient colors here. So you can change these by sliding the arrows, or you can just choose the color palette here and say maybe I want that part, that color, maybe this part over here, this color, maybe gradient over here, and this gradient over here. Maybe we'll do gray. So see, you can change this color, the background, anything you want, or if you clicked on that off, it's going to go to this main color here. So if you wanted just a main color differently, then you could choose something like that, or whatever you'd like to do. Okay. Go back to somewhat darker there. Well, we don't really want black, but we'll just choose gray here. So you can see how you can change the background color here. Now if you want, you can also change what you want for the, bring this back over, for the op tool, OpSim, Machine Sim. So if you don't want to use your same colors for your OpSim, then you can change that. Let's go back to mine that I normally use. This is the colors that I normally choose. You can see my vise a little bit different color, and the stock's a little bit different color, and the background's somewhat of a dark gray. But let's say you want to change the OpSim to look like more like SolidWorks. So now when you go to OpSim, you'll see the background is more like SolidWorks, and everything else kind of looks like SolidWorks as well. All the different colors there. Now maybe in Machine Sim, let's change this to maybe my new color here, just an example. Now if we drop down to Machine Sim, now you'll see the background color is different. Some of these changes you might have to close Gibbs and reopen it again because it changes it in some of the program files here. But if we go back to, say, OpSim, You can see this looks like SolidWorks, or again, I can change it to my new colors there. There we go. I had gradient turned back off on here, but you can see my that I have for my display TIM3. I also said I want this same background color for machine sim, and you can see that's the same thing right there. Now this is just background colors, not the tool colors or anything like that. But that's how you go about changing the colors. Just go to Edit Appearance, make sure you duplicate the one. And like I say, you can lock these whatever you'd like to protect if you want to keep somebody else from changing those. And there's all the different ones if you want to change the defaults, but I would probably leave the defaults alone and just copy them and then make the changes that you would like on there. A couple other things you can do in here is you can draw the axis. You can see there's no axis over here. You can say draw the axis on, say, the bottom left, and you can see that will appear over there. You can also do shadows. Usually I don't do shadows, but you can see if you want a shadow on there. I usually prefer not to have those on. I think most people don't care about shadows really. So you can turn that back off. You can also have soft shadows if you want. Some of the other things under Common, enable OpenGL, that's usually default. Semi-transparent drag rectangle, that's usually default. You can change some of those and mess with them as you want. You can change some of this, but normally I leave most of this default here. You can also change how you want the colors or the lighting to be. We'll show you these in just a minute. This is the sim colors. You can change those as well, and we'll show you those. Background, we already showed you that. But under System, you can change some of the things. You can have driver as hardware or software. Normally we choose hardware here because it's going to look at your graphics card there. If you want to know what hardware it's using, your graphics card, you can click on driver info, and you can see I have the NVIDIA GeForce GTX there, and so you can make sure you're using the correct video card for your computer. You really don't want to use the internal one, especially if you're working on laptops. You don't want to use the Intel one. Many laptops now come with NVIDIA, so you want to make sure you're using the higher end video card and not the built-in graphics. Okay, let's move this out of the way here. And I'm going to go to OpSim here. Let me rewind it. And I want to bring up a tool so we can see what the colors are on the tool when we start rendering. So let me just start the rendering here. That'll probably be good enough here. Okay, let's go back into our appearance settings. We won't change anything with common or lights or colors. This is going to be the colors of your default without OpSim on there. Let's just turn OpSim off a little bit. You can see the stock bodies. Usually I don't mess around with these too much. So when you bring in a solid model, things like that, it's coming in as a default color, so you know what is stock, what is a part, what is a fixture. So you may want to change the colors a little bit, but I wouldn't get too drastic on that. You can see my stock body here is the default blue there. If I was to change this to something else, you can see that changes immediately. Okay. Maybe you want to make it a little bit lighter. If I had a part, I don't have a part here, I made this stock here, but you can see fixtures are normally the red color. If you want them a little bit different, you can change that. You can see how that changes immediately on there. Okay. You kind of change it back to what you want, but you can change those as you want there. Okay, let's go back to OpSim. You can see the tool here, so let's go down to simulation here. And the cut, let's do the actual tool first, so you can see the color there of the tool. Maybe you want to change that from a grayish to a bluish. See that immediately changes. Maybe you like that color better. The shank, you could change the shank differently. We don't have a shank sitting on this tool here. We have the tool holder though. So maybe you want the tool holder that color. You can change that there. You can also change transparency. Also with these tools, if you click on this button right here for the tool, you see it disappears and then it goes to transparency. Well, you can change the transparency of the tool by going down to here for the tool, clicking on here, and going over to the slider, and you can see how it changes the transparency to almost pretty much solid to really light transparency. You can change that. The default's 128 there. You can also do the same thing with the stock. So if you made that transparent, if you like that a little bit more solid, you can make it, or a little more transparent. That's up to you. The default's 128 there. And of course the fixture, the same thing. If you had the fixture there, you can say I want the fixture a little bit more solid or even more transparent. So change that to what you would like. Let's go back to D128. Close enough. So there you can put these back if you want solid and solid tool and fixture back to solid fixture. Let's make that back to solid on the stock. So you can see all the different tools here. We'll stop it with the shank here. So this would be the color of the shank. If you change the shank color to there, that matches this one over to here. So if I made that light green, you can see that changes there, or blue, whatever you'd like there. So you can customize these colors any way that you would like them. And again, if I go to, I just turn Op Sim off, there's my standard colors. If I go to Machine Sim, you'll see the different colors of the background there, and also it picks up the tool, fixtures, whatever you'd like there. You can also change the color when it clashes. You change the cut color, everything there that you would like. Now let's show you where all these files are located. Turn that off. So where these files are located, you want to go to your C drive, your standard local disk. Normally it's a C drive. And then you want to go down to users, so just double click that. And you want to go to, usually it's your name or whatever the name of your PC or whoever's using it, just double click that. And then you want to go down to application data. And then you want to go to roaming. And then you want to go to Cambrio. In 2026, it's going to be changed under Gibbs. So that's something different in 26, but right now this is 25. So if you go to Cambrio, and then to GibbsCAM, and then of course the version you're working on, this is 25059. Then you want to go to Display Preferences. Now it's probably best if you're deleting these or moving them or making a copy of them, whatever, that you close Gibbs first, but we'll leave them in here for right now. So I would suggest you close Gibbs before you start messing with these. Now these are all going to be called Look. Even though you have a custom name, they're all going to be called Look. So if I go through the first one here, and you look over here, let me open it up. This is the name, and it's called GibbsCAM 2014. So when your drop-down menu under Display, you'll see GibbsCAM 2014. If we'll go to Look 2, you can see GibbsCAM 2006 SW, 4 2015 3DS, 5 2005 OpenGL, 6 GibbsCAM 2006, 7. This is my first one that I normally, my default colors that I like to use all the time. It's Tim's 10. And then I made a new one, Tim's 2, and then the last one I made while you were watching is Tim 3. So these are all of them here. Now if you want, you can, if you want to always keep a copy of those. Normally when you launch Gibbs and do a new version and you go to preferences, and update your configuration when it asks you at the end if you want to use the information from your other versions past. Then you can load that, and it'll normally load up all these. But if you want a backup copy of all these, especially your custom ones you did, you can of course copy these and save them to your hard disk somewhere and call them whatever you'd like to call them. But leave these all as the look numbers. Okay, don't change the name of these, otherwise I don't believe it'll work. But that's where the files are: C drive, users, your name or computer name, app data, roaming, Cambrio, Gibbs, and the version you're working on, display, preferences. Now you more than likely have to have admin privileges to get to this folder. It depends on what your IT people have set up on your computer, but this is where those files are. But before I end here, if you like, if you want to use the same colors I have on mine, then you can just do some screenshots of here. This is my common settings, lights. These are all default there. Colors, you take a screenshot on that. The numbers here, you'll have the same colors, the same for sim, background colors, and system. So if you take a screenshot of all those, you'll have the same colors I'm using here. So that's, of course, totally up to you. But thanks for watching, and that's how you can change the color in GibbsCAM. Thank you.